Today is about accountability for damaging a national resource, a national treasure, and that is the reflecting pool. Today, a grand jury has returned a felony indictment against a defendant, David Hearn, for felony destruction of property, for which he faces 10 years in prison. The indictment is in response to an incident that occurred on June 19th of 2026, in which the defendant Hearn ripped a piece of recently installed sealant on the bottom of the reflecting pool at the Lincoln Memorial.
I want to bring in Norm Eisen. He's the attorney representing former U.S. Olympian David Hearn, who was arrested Friday for allegedly tampering with the reflecting pool. We should note Norm investigated Trump as counsel to House Judiciary Committee in the first impeachment of the trial of Donald Trump and litigated cases involving him previously. So, Norm, can you just give us a recap of what your client, what David was doing on Friday when he was arrested? What does he say he was doing?
David is, as you note, Anderson, a decorated Olympian. He was on a long bike ride, as thousands of people do a day. As a concerned citizen, he went to check out this mess that Donald Trump has created of the reflecting pool. He did not break the law. He did nothing that in a more normal time or even a few days ago was unusual. And every American should be concerned at these kinds of crackdowns by the administration. There's been a long pattern of this administration targeting innocent individuals. Attorney General Tish James, FBI Director Jim Comey.
Well, so
the president is the latest.
The president said that somebody cut a 250-foot thing with a knife, that other people have been tampering with knives. Did your client use any tool to peel off anything?
No, of course not, Anderson. And there'll be ample proof he could not have dragged a 250-foot knife line down this pool. He did nothing unusual, nothing different. It appears that law enforcement was there in order to find an excuse for the president to make these claims without evidence, Anderson. But we're talking about
let me just ask
here.
When he was arrested, did he have any large paint chips on him? I mean, these are questions I never thought I would be asking, but any piece of the lining?
Not. No, of course not, Anderson. This is a meritless prosecution. We will get into all the details in court. Every American should be concerned about this kind of thing. And of course, as you've pointed out, there's no evidence for the things that the president has said. Anderson, is my client responsible for those horrendous algae blooms or creating this perfect storm in the pool, or having a composite material that is coming up off the bottom of the pool? Of course not. He's a cyclist who was going by a concerned citizen, curious as Americans are about this mess.
What happened over the course of the 5 hours that he was held?
Well, he was wrongly detained, and he was eventually released, as they must do. He was issued misdemeanor citations, and we'll be back in court to contest those. He's innocent. He's done nothing wrong. And it's terrible that they're doing this to American people with these baseless charges, Anderson. By the way, he's represented our country. He's a decorated Olympian. He did nothing improper, illegal, or wrong in this situation, and profoundly
and let me just ask you, the president has said there are photos. He wasn't specifying necessarily, as I understand, I don't believe he was specifying your client in particular. Do you believe there are any photos which would implicate your client?
There are no, my client did nothing wrong. He broke no laws. There are no photos that implicate him in any wrongdoing. Anderson, people have been checking out what is going on in that corrupt mess at the reflecting pool made on a no-bid contract with one of Donald Trump's cronies from Mar-a-Lago involved in the affair, and blame is being cast about. Davy did nothing wrong here. And it should be concerning to every American that someone who does nothing wrong, who goes by the reflecting pool, can be treated this way by the authorities.
In the middle of the political tidal wave, this man is in charge of keeping water in the reflecting pool crystal clear.
We've never done a pool, but the water is relatively the same as the water that you would see out in a regular lake somewhere, right? You're treating it for algae and bacteria.
How clean does President Trump want to get this project?
I don't know the answer to that question yet, but since it was really blue last week, I think he liked that.
In his first TV interview, Chaz Antonone, the CEO of Green Water Services, defended its patented ozone nanobubbler, a new technology that's costing $1.7 million and that the Trump administration is building as the state-of-the-art fix for the algae-ridden pool.
Ozone is 3,000 times faster and 50 times more powerful than chlorine. And it's able to stay in the water, travel through the water, find the toxins that it needs. That's why we're able to treat it from both ends and treat the whole pool.
But the project has been plagued with other problems too, from the new blue bottom peeling up to Trump blaming without evidence left-wing vandals.
The reflecting pool is so beautiful, they tried to destroy it.
Prompting Trump to announce they'll need to drain the pool again.
We'll fix it right after the 4th of July.
Meanwhile, the small Ohio company has been thrust into the national spotlight for their role.
What's your understanding of why the original bloom happened?
How it happened, I don't know. It could be, someone could have come from the pipes. Could somebody have dumped some stuff in there? Anything's possible in the middle of the night.
In April, the company was given a no-bid contract from the Trump administration, bypassing a competitive bidding process. The company's co-owner is J.J. Cafaro, a longtime supporter and donor to President Trump and neighbor living near his Mar-a-Lago club.
J.J. Cafaro from Florida and from Cleveland. He's a man who made a lot of money in Cleveland, does a good job, and a fantastic man.
In 2001, Cafaro pleaded guilty to conspiracy to bribe Representative James Traficant and separately pleaded guilty in 2010 for a campaign finance violation. The Interior Department says the White House was not involved in the selection process for any contract and did not weigh in on the company selected, full stop. And the company has also tried to distance itself from Cafaro, saying he is an Ohio-based businessman who invested in the Ohio-based company after the owner showed him research done on local Ohio bodies of water. A spokesperson for the company said he has no involvement in the day-to-day operations. Earlier this month, Cafaro defended his company's technology, saying he believes the public scrutiny over the reflecting pool is from people who don't seem to like Trump.
The man who was charged with damaging the reflecting pool speaking exclusively to CNN. A judge officially tossed the Justice Department's case against David Hearn. In a court filing, prosecutors acknowledged there is not evidence to support the administration's initial claim that Hearn was responsible for damaging the pool.
Can you just tell us how you're feeling tonight?
I'm feeling like quite a bit relieved now that the case has actually been dismissed officially, but I'm still pretty concerned about innocent people being accused by the government of things they didn't do. It's a really unsettling feeling for me.
I mean, what went through your mind last Friday when the Justice Department filed that court filing, dropping the charges against you and saying, actually, it wasn't vandalism, it was just a botched installation?
This whole thing has been really surreal and absurd. I think a lot of people feel that way. Again, it's a relief, but there's a attachment to that relief of extreme concern for other people and for our country.
You're someone who is an Olympian who represented the United States on the global stage. I imagine you probably never thought you would find yourself in the crosshairs of the Justice Department.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. It's really a different time in the United States of America right now. We all need to be vigilant in this climate.
You know, Norm, one thing that the judge did not rule on today and is coming at a later date is whether or not the case is dismissed without prejudice, meaning that the DOJ can't bring this against you again. When do you expect the judge to rule on that, and how so?
We'll look forward to having a prompt hearing on that, Caitlin. The judge has ordered additional briefing. The distinction is if a case is dismissed without prejudice, it can be brought again. With prejudice, it can't be brought again. And the legal test is if someone is subject to harassment or bad faith. And this whole case is an example of that. So we think it's a very strong case for dismissal with prejudice. We've put in a substantial motion to that effect. It's the seventh filing that we've made with the court, starting the day after Davey was arraigned, saying the evidence here, look at the pictures, the government's own evidence before and after, the pool was unchanged.
Should we expect further legal action from the two of you?
Well, at this point, we're focused on finishing the process, advocating to the court. We want this case dismissed with prejudice, but all options are on the table. Our wonderful legal team, Mary Dorman at the Washington Litigation Group, my colleagues at Democracy Defenders Fund, Steve Levine at Steptoe, we're looking at all the options. American law does not like it when an innocent person is wrongly accused. So we'll make those evaluations after we resolve the dismissal with prejudice.
But you're leaving it open to potentially suing for damages.
All options are on the table, and there are a lot of options when an innocent man is wrongly accused.
When you listen to the DC U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, there, with such bravado in that initial press conference unveiling the charges against you, and you hear her describing what she accused you of that day, what's that like for you?
Yeah, that happened back on July 2nd, more than a month ago, and it was the week before our first arraignment hearing date. That was a little bit of a shock, but it was the things she was saying were so outrageous, I had to try to put together, okay, what did I do that's getting her to say I did these things? Because I didn't know how that connection, I didn't get that.
Her talking about you using your bare hands and violently ripping up the pool, that doesn't line up with what you believe happened that day?
No, I was there on a bike ride and decided to stop by the reflecting pool on my way home as a curious, concerned citizen to see what was happening there at the reflecting pool with the algae growth and this botched repair and renovation job that had been reported on. There was a lot of reports of the peeling blue coating, and I wanted to see for myself what was going on there.
And Caitlin, the government's own filing says that the case can't be proved beyond a reasonable doubt as is required. It was a botched rush filing. They can't establish, they don't have the evidence. And who is to blame? The Department of the Interior, according to the U.S. Attorney herself.
Well, I mean, but you mentioned that press conference happened over a month ago on July 2nd, and the charges you were facing here have a maximum penalty of, I believe, 10 years in jail. I mean, were you losing sleep over this? Did it have an impact on you and your family?
I've definitely been losing sleep. My sleep has been not ideal lately. I did sleep a little bit better last night, and I have been able to keep up as much as I can my bicycle training. I've been trying to do that. That's always a thing that kind of keeps me mentally and physically level in any event, and in this situation, it's definitely been crucial.
Do you want an apology?
Apology would be nice. It's hard to know what that apology might sound like from the people that have been pushing this so hard. And I don't know what that would sound like. It would be nice to get an apology.
Who do you want an apology from? Jeanine Pirro or Todd Blanche or even President Trump himself?
I think for now we're going to focus on getting the case dismissed. That is the best first step. We think it should be dismissed with prejudice, and then we'll go from there, including considering all legal options.
When you look at this in terms of how the president has responded to what his own U.S. attorney here has said in court, he has not ruled out not firing her from her position. The Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, that you mentioned there, Norm, wrote after that court filing and said the evidence is clear that vandals have repeatedly caused damage to the reflecting pool. He says some of this was caught on camera. He talks about eyewitness testimony. What is your reaction to hearing a senior official in the government still say that it was vandalism?
It's very unsettling. It's not the United States of America that I know. It's not the United States of America that I've represented in many competitions overseas, including 3 Olympic Games, 13 World Championships. It's just not right. It has to be rejected.